Today I'm going to talk about Elizabeth Holmes and her company Theranos. It all started with Elizabeth Holmes dropping out of Stanford University during her second year at age 19 to create the company. She and later her COO, Bhawani, sold investors in her company and what her machine Edison could do, and then they wired her money to continue operations. They also defrauded many patients who were recommended to go to them by doctors who heard it from the many advertisements they had on about what Theranos and the Edison machine could do in regards to fast, reliable, and cheap blood tests and results. They will have about hundreds of patients who will either pay Theranos or Walgreens on behalf of Theranos for services of these blood tests. Edison was incapable of doing what they were advertising, including not having accurate results for gonorrhea, glucose, HbA1c, HIV, potassium, sodium, testosterone, etc. They used wire transfers to purchase advertising materials for future clients in California and Arizona, and they also oversaw the wire transfers of patients buying their services. The downfall of Elizabeth Holmes' regime, Sunny Balwani, and Theranos is credited to the many people who saw what was going on at the company, those who worked closely to the machines, and the journalists. Since the founding of the company, there were many people who doubted what Holmes was telling them in regards to what her machine was capable of, and her being a college dropout with no science background didn't help much, but somehow she convinced them to believe in her. However, the staff at Theranos who worked within the lab and close to the machine had many doubts and thus brought them to upper management, who would either ignore them or tell them not to worry. The data was cherry-picked, and only data that showed the desired results were written into reports and showed to investors, journalists, and the doctors they wanted to work with. Those who asked too many questions, snooped around, and didn't do as they were told were either fired or reassigned. There were two whistleblowers who helped the government, and the journalist blows the sting wide open. Tyler Schultz and Erica Schoen. Schultz and Schoen saw many inaccuracies and results for vitamin D that included cherry-picked results that showed a higher accuracy than normal and the bad results all being erased. Both of them brought these concerns up to the higher-ups, with Schoen going to Balwani, who questioned her competence, while Schultz went to Holmes, who didn't take him seriously. Schoen soon resigned due to what she saw in her treatment at the company for speaking out. In 2015, Schoen will write a letter to CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, to expose the lab that Theranos was working in on the many issues it had and a hidden room that wasn't shown to any inspectors. Schultz, on the other hand, gathered all the information he had and contacted a Wall Street Journal reporter. John Carroll was contacted by Adam from Pathology blog with a tip about a big story he had come across on Elizabeth Holmes and her company Theranos. Carroll would soon get visits and letters from the company to cease the investigation and stop trying to, quote, get trade secrets, unquote. But in 2015, he would publish the article in the Wall Street Journal about Theranos and the Web of Lies. In 2016, CMS will warn Theranos that results were endangering patients after getting unreliable results from detecting blood thinners with the machines. 3 months later, the U.S. Attorney Office in San Francisco and SEC began to investigate Theranos. In 2017, Walgreens Partner Fund and about 10 patients filed lawsuits against Holmes and Theranos. In 2018, both SEC and the U.S. Attorney Office filed criminal charges against Holmes and Balwani, who were then charged with 2 counts of conspiring to commit wire fraud, 6 counts of committing wire fraud against investors, 4 counts of wire frauds to buy advertising materials and defrauding patients with the false promises of the blood results. In July 2020, Holmes and Balwani were indicted by the SEC with the above charges, and they pled not guilty. By September 2020, Holmes was thinking of using a mental illness as a defense claim for her trial, and also implied that she was in an abusive relationship with Balwani, which caused their joint trial to be split. The original date of the trial was also changed from July 2020 to July 2021 due to the virus, and then later delayed until August 2021 due to Holmes being pregnant. Finally, in August 2021, the trial began, and by January 2022, Holmes is found guilty on 4 out of the 11 felony charges, one count of conspiracy to defraud investors, plus 3 wire fraud counts. Balwani's own trial finishes in July 2022 with a guilty plea of 10 counts of federal wire fraud plus 2 counts of conspiracy to commit wire fraud. On November 18, 2022, Holmes was sentenced to 135 months, 11 years and 3 months in federal prison by the U.S. Attorney's Office of Northern California and the U.S. District Judge Devolny. On top of this hefty sentence, the judge also ordered Holmes to have 3 years of supervision upon release from prison. She is to surrender herself on April 27, 2023, to start her prison sentence, where she ends up in federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas.